So we took this, I believe it's a birch ply. We've got the acetone-based stain from Mohawk. It's a cherry color. It's pretty quick drying. So I'm just ragging it on real quick. Cut this piece of birch with 320. We use the airbrush to clean it all off with. Get the grains cleaned out real nice. Move pretty quick with this dye stain because it likes to dry real fast. We can get finish on this in about 10 minutes after I finish. Up. I like to use my little airbrush there. It's a simple little gizmo, but it really does a great job. It goes ahead and cleans out all the sanding powders very nicely, especially in open grain woods where you can get it super clean, super inexpensive, and it's a great idea. This is how this will work. If you don't have shop air, you can go ahead and use dry towels and rags after you sand down with an electric sander. Use standard soap and water at this point because we are waterproof and chemical proof to make sure you get all your sanding dust out. But as you can see, that is really clean and nice. We're pretty straight and flat. We haven't burnt through anything, and so I'll go ahead and finish up the stud and get it back in the booth and we'll put it in the finish. I went ahead and wanded most of this off of here, interchanging with the sealer and the 710. A little bit left in the pad's not a problem. We don't need to be wasting pads. So I'll go ahead, line out some 700. And again, we'll just let the pad charge, refill it. And then we're just gonna push the material around. And as you can see, we're putting on a substantial wet coat. We're in control of it. We let that nap pad dispense into the screen. This won't be our last coat. We're going to put one more coat down. Spin my little handy swivel table here. I can get to the other side and see that. So we're going to let that rest for about 3 to 5 minutes. So the 700 finish now has an opportunity to lay down and wet out. Okay, so 4 minutes in, we walked away. We got some nice leveling here with the 700 finish with that one application. A lot of our wanding marks went away. It seems to self-level real nice. I'm not unhappy with that at all. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cure this out as it sits. And it's clean enough. There's a couple little burrs in it that I'm looking at, but very minor. It's pretty clean and straight. If you look right over the top, straight down at the color and the clarity, we don't see any discolored pieces or trash that would bother me. It's really clean looking across. So we'll go ahead and cure this film up in 2 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and reapply direct without deglossing. We're going to go ahead. I wanted to pop in here while we're waiting on our 2 minutes, and there's a little bit, tiny bit of bubble here and there. maybe a little bit of a shrink that we can see a little bit more of a profile of the actual plywood. This shape, it's not as flat as can be, it's a standard plywood grade. But my point is that we're not seeing a dramatic change of the wet look to the cured finished look, and that's what we want to look for. Our lights are set up high enough, there's not a lot of UV exposure, so it's a nice even slow burn to wet to tack-free and dry. If we're seeing dramatic changes from the wet film to the dry film during curing, we have too much UVA exposed on the substrate, so we need to move the lights back. That's a quick, easy adjustment that you can make. The new Kuvo bar lights that we have actually have a rheostat knob, so you can turn them all the way off and bring them up in the different stages of different intensity that you like. So trimming the lights is very critical, so you can keep a profile that doesn't change much at all, if any, from a wet film application to your tack-free cured in 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes later, we are locked down. This really isn't scratching. I've got some grease on my hands, so I'm leaving fingerprints, but I'm not scratching. All right, every once in a while in high humidity environments, we're down here in the southeast United States right now. It is November, but it is still warm and muggy. Every once in a while you'll get a little film that you'll see. It's almost kind of like a greasy look. And what that is that's most likely moisture content that's trapped in the air or humidity. And with 100% solid polymer that's energy curable, it cures from the bottom of the film to the top surface. That's the direction this finish cures, unlike the rest of the coatings in solvent world where they skin over the top and they dry down. So what's happening here, if you happen to see some sort of little haze on the surface and it feels greasy, you can see fingerprints, and it's almost, you can see it again here, because we got some humidity today. That's all water vapor that's being forced out of the polymer as it's curing. So anything solid, or anything non-solid, excuse me, in the film when you convert it from wet to dry is going to be forced up out to the surface. It's called blooming. And you just take a clean, lint-free rag and a cloth when you see it and wipe it off. Flip your rag, and it looks nice and dry. This is a step that I will do because I don't want to sand this back. You can very readily take this out very quickly, knock it flat with some 320, come back in and put your final coat on. But that is not absolutely necessary. You can apply multiple layers of our wood coatings and the rest of the sprayables and hand application products from Clean Armor without sanding in between coats. There is some real need for that in industries so they can speed up process times. We are locked down again. A little bit of that haze I was talking about, and I can see in the light, but not bad. So we're going to go ahead and consider this ready to go ahead and start detuning and setting the sheen and get this piece finished. Dry film on a DA sander. I'm choosing 1,000, 1,200, right in that range. To flatten, we don't need to go any more aggressive. This material loves to cut, it doesn't like to tear, so it really sands nicely. So I'm going to start with 1,000 grit, and we're going to go ahead and flatten this out. What we're looking to do here is just to degloss it. Work out any of the bugs, any of the little humps, any of the things that stand up, and get a nice uniform flat look. And we can tell by the sand cut as we go along. Once we get this flattened with 1,000, we're going to clean it up. Then we're going to come in with 1,500 and thoroughly work this with some soap and water under the pad. And then we'll probably move into a 3,000 Trizac pad with soap and water again, and that should take care of it. We'll be able to set the sheen levels anywhere from 5 degrees all the way up to 30, 40, 60 degrees. Depends on how high you want to bring the abrasive, sanding, and burnishing up to it. We can bring this back to a high gloss, cut and buff this. It could be perfectly crystal clear with no flaws and perfectly straight. all the way up through a standard automotive polisher, pads and compounds, or we can leave it at certain uniform levels. Today's papers and Trizac foam disc pads do a really fine job. They will hide all of the swirl marks, and if you get yourself a good random orbital, it will not leave the markings and leave tracks. So we're going to go ahead and start 1,000 grit. Mill that down. As soon as it goes nice and flat, like that area right there, that's where we're going to quit. That's what we're looking to see versus the highs. We're going to take it down and get it straight. As soon as it lands straight, quit, and we'll move on to the higher grits. Okay, so we're back here. We're nice and smooth and slick. A little bit, some powders on there, and I'll clean off here. Now it's time to move to soap and water, and we're going to start setting the sheen level on this piece. I'm going to start removing the 800 scratches with 1,000, and then I'm going to move to 1,200 readily, and then we're going to come in and with 15, and we do all this wet. Keep the flooded soap and water, dishwashing liquid and standard water. We are non-permeable, we're chemical resistant, we are waterproof and airtight. So we can go ahead and bring in the liquids here to go ahead and maneuver and hand burnish this in a sense with a machine, or you could do this by hand as well. Steel wool, 4-aught, there are some compounding agents, waxes and whatnots, and rubbing agents that are very common in the wood industry that you can find that'll help you set sheen levels, things of that nature. Mohawk sells a couple of different really good ones, wool lube, and products like that for this specific application. But we're going to stick with soap and water and some DA disc papers today. This would be for larger pieces that you want to work with, much more efficient way to get through it. So let's get started. Good looking, nice flat. I'm starting to pick up some gleam and sheen. Can you catch that light in that room? On that, Charles?
Yep.
All right, we're getting there. Feels good. We're going to move up to 1,500 now and see what that brings us for gloss levels. We're in the middle of burnishing this with wet sandpaper grits that we were speaking about earlier. We thought we'd stop in the middle. This half over here is still at 1,500 grit, and I worked this one with 2,000 above the 1,500. So we're going to get our fancy little gloss meter out, and we're going to see where we're at. So we're at a 1. The Ultra, here's a 2. That's a 2. So we're at a dead flat or an ultra matte, seems to be very popular these days. Hand application, we started from a raw piece of veneer today, came through with some ultra penetrating stain, 1 coat of 710 sealer, 3 coats hand applied with 710 gloss. A couple of hours later, at best, we're down to 2,000 grit and we're still at a 1. We're going to bring this up to about 30 to 40 degree sheen, somewhere in the middle of a satin, by continuing to move from 2,000. We'll go back up to 3,000, might even try 5,000 grit, and it'll just keep bringing the sheen up. We want to take this back to a complete gloss, optically clear. We could buff this with a wool pad at 3,000 and it would be water clear again. So let's go see what 3,000 looks like. We're at 2,000 on this side of the table. We're going to run ahead and go to 3. We might even run up to 5 and start bringing that sheen up. We might even end up at 8, wherever we want to land. Somewhere in a satin look that's got more of a gloss than we have sitting here at 1 and 2. But I wanted to show you these. These are Trizac foam pads. They're hook and loops. There's plenty of other abrasive rubbing materials out there, Merca papers and things. So whatever is designed to go ahead and very easily cut and rub these types of polymer systems to control where you want to land and set your sheen levels. A little soapy water. Didn't spend much time with that at all. And we now have a nice looking satin. It's got some gloss. We can see the reflective light above our heads. We pick up our bottle labels. Very slick, very flat. Feels just like glass, just like it's been sprayed. We have not used a spray gun here. We are at 10 degree with that meter. 9, 8, and over here we're still at the 1500. We're down to 1. So we'll go up to 8,000 next and see where that brings us up to. But you can